you're craving donuts, can you think of anything better than a Krispy Kreme? That flawless sheet of glaze that crackles across the top when you take your first bite? The light, pillowy pastry that almost dissolves in your mouth the moment it hits your tongue? Whether you're looking to satisfy your breakfast cravings or a late-night sweet tooth, it always hits the spot. And when they're hot off the line, forget about it. While we may never know what makes these things so delicious, there are plenty of other fun facts to discover about your favorite donut chain that's been serving those glazed delights for over 80 years. Here's the untold truth of Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme donuts are so good. If I told you right now they had crack in it, you go, I knew something was up.
That hot light. If the sight of a lit hot light in a Krispy Kreme window makes you weak in the knees, you're not alone. But if you're under the impression that the neon light means you get a free donut, you're likely to be disappointed. Krispy Kreme's communications department revealed to Delish, the hot light signals that donuts are hot and fresh coming off the line, not a free donut. Some shops sometimes offer samples, but that isn't dependent on the hot light being on. These days, thanks to the Krispy Kreme app, you can be notified every time a location in your area turns on their light. Road trips just got a whole lot more donut-y. Donut beer? Two Florida breweries, Hidden Spring Ale Works and Arcane Ale Works, collaborated to produce a Russian Imperial Stout infused with Krispy Kreme donuts. Given that stout beer is known for its coffee and chocolate notes, we can only assume this is a match made in heaven. While Krispy Kreme wasn't directly involved, the company reportedly supports the product in the breweries. The beer, called Donut Quote Me on This, was brewed in 2 batches, one with glazed and one with cream-filled donuts. Josh Garman, Hidden Springs founder and brewer, told the Tampa Bay Times, "It's going to be roasty, chocolatey, hopefully with some donut flavor. We're actually hoping to get some of the glaze from the Krispy Kremes to come through." The stout debuted in January 2018 and promptly sold out, but we're hoping these tasty brews make a second appearance soon. Until then, we have the old standby.
Coffee and donuts! Boom! It's a party.
Don't join the club. When your company has already eschewed the proper spelling of crispy and cream, you might figure it's fine to take it a step further and spell club with a K. But unfortunately, one British Krispy Kreme store did just that, and in a huge marketing fail, named one of their promotional kids' days KKK Wednesdays.
Let's call the police.
And tell them what? An army of killer donuts is on the loose?
Predictably, there were plenty of complaints, pointing out that the name was the same as the abbreviation for the American hate group, the Ku Klux Klan. A spokesperson for the company told The Guardian, "Krispy Kreme apologizes unreservedly for the inappropriate name of a customer promotion at one of our stores. This promotion was never intended to cause offense. All material has been withdrawn and an internal investigation is currently underway." Donuts over cake. How many weddings have you been to where the cake is just a huge disappointment in the flavor department? But you can't have a wedding without a multi-tiered dessert, right? Thanks to the Krispy Kreme Donut Tower, there's now a solution to that age-old wedding cake conundrum. And trust us, nobody will miss the tasteless red velvet when they're biting into a delectable glazed donut.
Things are gonna be different. I'm gonna be on you every day. Have you got that? Every day!
Availability varies by store, and you can even customize the tower by adding in any variety of donuts you choose. Even if your local store doesn't offer the service, a donut tower is easy to build with a tiered cake stand. Select stores also offer individually packaged donuts as wedding favors, and for those throwing baby showers, there are gender reveal donuts with pink or blue filling. Shaq's love affair. Shaquille O'Neal has had a long-time love affair with Krispy Kreme.
Surprise!
Hey! Oh my god, you look like Shaquille O'Neal!
You might remember his hilarious 2009 video set to Mariah Carey's We Belong Together, ultimately proving that he has the willpower not to break his basketball season diet. But now that he's retired, Shaq can eat all the donuts he wants. And in 2016, he not only became the new owner of an Atlanta area Krispy Kreme, he also became the brand's global ambassador. Shaq said in a statement, "Krispy Kreme prides itself on spreading joy and supporting local communities. And that's a cause that I am thrilled to be a part of. Our goal is to help people find their happy place. And what better way than with a box of delicious Krispy Kreme donuts?" But he's not stopping there. In 2017, he told TMZ,
"Only on one now, but I'm working on it. When it's all said and done, I'll let go on about 100.
Black market donuts? At one time, the border town of Juarez, Mexico was graced with a Krispy Kreme restaurant. And of course, the residents quickly got hooked. So much so that when the store closed, it provided the perfect opportunity for the Krispy Kreme familia to set up shop. And just like that, the donut black market was born.
What is that, Private Pile?
Sir, jelly donuts, sir!
Sonia Garcia and her 2 sons drive across the border to El Paso, Texas to stock up on 40 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts each night, then drive back into Juarez to sell them at a 60% markup. When asked why these donuts are so highly sought after when it's easier to get other kinds locally, Garcia told the Los Angeles Times, "I don't know why, but these are just softer and better." Sugar bomb breakfast. Donuts get a bad rap when it comes to sugar, but newsflash, if you're sucking down a grande frappuccino every morning, you're drinking as much sugar as you'd get by eating a half-dozen Krispy Kremes.
Oh, sugar rush.
Sorry, Starbucks fans, but those blended drinks are chock full of the sweet stuff. And we're not just talking about the 59 grams of sugar in the unicorn frappuccino. A plain old coffee frappuccino comes in at 50 grams, and the vanilla version actually blows the unicorn out of the water with an astounding 69 grams of sugar. When you compare those numbers to the 10 grams of sugar in an original Glaze Krispy Kreme, you can feel pretty good about scarfing down a few donuts as a morning treat. The Luther Burger.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
What do you get when you combine 2 Krispy Kreme original glazed donuts with a beef patty, cheese, and bacon? You get the Luther Burger. And don't be fooled by its decadent appearance. It might look like it would set you back thousands of calories, but surprisingly, it has just 500. According to Snopes, the burger is named after R&B singer Luther Vandross. But the reason behind the naming of the sandwich is less clear. One theory suggests that Vandross himself invented the concoction after running out of regular buns, substituting donuts in their place. Another theory suggests it was simply one of his favorite foods. Whatever the reason, we know one thing for sure. Paula Deen did not invent this dish, although she did attempt to take credit years after the Luther Burger was already being served at Mulligan's Pub in Georgia.
Enjoy the special sauce!
Those buns are all still good, just change the hat.
That limited a dish. Krispy Kreme might have plenty of mouth-watering options to choose from, but that doesn't stop them from releasing limited edition donuts any chance they get.
You got jack-o'-lantern? Jack-o'-lantern!
Whether it's a holiday, an event, or just because, there is a constant stream of fun new flavors and colors popping up. St. Patrick's Day saw the original glaze go green, and the dough itself was turned a vibrant shade of lime for the occasion. The 2018 Winter Olympics prompted a gold donut, with bits of Hershey's gold candy bars sprinkled on top of salted caramel icing. And then there was the Simpsons donut, a real-life recreation of Homer's favorite snack. Even the once-in-a-lifetime solar eclipse of 2017 inspired a limited edition donut. Jackie Woodward, the company's chief marketing officer, said in a statement, "The solar eclipse is a rare occasion providing a total sensory experience for viewers across the continental U.S. Chocolate will have the same effect as we introduce a first-time chocolate glazing of our iconic original glazed donut. The chocolate glazed donut is a delicious way to experience the solar eclipse, no matter where you are, and we can't wait for fans to try it." And as sad as it is to see these limited editions disappear, we're sure not hating on our old faves. Oh, gotta run. The hot light's on at our local shop.
Krispy Kreme has been satisfying your sweet tooth cravings for more than 80 years and never fails to hit the spot. Whether it's an extra tasty breakfast or a late-night treat, is there really ever a bad time for one of those glazed pieces of heaven? The donut recipe may be top secret, but here are a bunch of fun facts you may not know about Krispy Kreme. Secret potatoes. Krispy Kreme has kept their iconic original glazed donut recipe a secret for more than 80 years, but the company's website has given a few clues as to what those secret ingredients may be. Krispy Kreme's founder, Vernon Rudolph, bought the recipe from a French chef in New Orleans in 1937, then took it to North Carolina, where he opened the first store. Decades later, Rudolph's son attempted to track down the original recipe, and according to Duke University's The Chronicle, he ultimately discovered it consisted of a cream of fluffed egg whites, mashed potatoes, sugar, shortening, and skim milk that was chilled and mixed with flour and then fried and covered in glaze. Since Rudolph would have been making hundreds of donuts from a recipe meant to make just a few dozen, his son guessed that this would have been only a starting point. The proportions would need to be altered. The world may never know, but if Krispy Kreme donuts are full of mashed potatoes, that might explain why they're so darn good. Driving with glaze. When you hear DUI, you probably think drugs or alcohol are the culprit. But what about Krispy Kreme donuts? In 2015, a man named Daniel Rushing was pulled over for what he thought would be a routine traffic stop. According to NPR, things took a turn for the worse when the officer asked him about some white crystals that had been found on the floorboards, which had field tested positive for methamphetamine. Rushing explained it was the glaze from a Krispy Kreme donut, but the officers didn't believe him.
You are under arrest.
And he was taken to jail. This is when Rushing realized he had a good lawsuit on his hands. Eventually, the charges were dropped, and the offending Krispy Kreme dust earned Rushing a $37,500 settlement. Krispy Kreme, the rapper. Heads up to any amateur rappers, if you've decided to name yourself Krispy Kreme and one of your videos is so utterly ridiculous that it goes viral, you'll need to start worrying about trademark infringement. In 2012, Tyler Cassidy, aka Krispy Kreme, found himself in hot water when media coverage of his video The Baddest alerted the real Krispy Kreme to the use of their name. The donut company contacted Cassidy's father and told them to find Krispy Kreme a new name, Stat.
I have to make an announcement video because I have to change my rap name.
Cassidy ultimately decided on the name Froggy Fresh. Started with the smell. When Vernon Rudolph started making donuts in 1937, they were only sold to grocery stores for resale. There was no proper storefront. But according to the Krispy Kreme website, passers-by were so tantalized by the aroma of the fried donuts that they would stop at the facility to buy them right there. In a genius business move, Rudolph decided to cut a hole in the outside wall of the building and began selling hot donuts directly to customers on the street, thus creating the first Krispy Kreme retail location. Name change? Apparently, the name Krispy Kreme is a pronunciation conundrum for UK customers. Some think it's Krispy Kreme. And in 2017, the company announced they would be making a change to their name.
Kreme. We're divided, people. And as CDO of Krispy Kreme, I cannot allow it.
They would instead be known as Krispy Kreme.
So, my British peeps, go for it! Say it loud, say it proud, but most of all, say it right!
But wait, this announcement came on March 30th, just a few days before April 1st. Ultimately, the company announced that it was, in fact, a prank. A spokesperson told Mirror Online, "The idea behind the story was to draw attention to the confusion around pronunciation and spelling of the brand in a humorous, irreverent way." Wasted donuts. If it saddens you to think of even a single Krispy Kreme going to waste, prepare to be heartbroken. In 2016, a customer at a UK location was shocked to see about 50 bags of donuts piled behind the shop, all destined for the trash. He told BBC News, "I've done some quick maths and I reckon there were about 15,000 donuts being wasted there." So why don't they donate the day-old donuts? In a general statement on their website addressing waste, the company said, "Krispy Kreme donuts are an occasional indulgent treat and, as such, do not have the nutritional values adequate to be a meal replacement. Therefore, we have concerns about giving donuts to people in need of proper nourishment." Makes you think twice about your several donut a day habit, doesn't it?
While a lot of people might like Krispy Kreme donuts, the company has made plenty of blunders. From destroying sewer systems to promotions in the middle of a pandemic, these are the scandals that Krispy Kreme can never live down. In 2005, Krispy Kreme publicly admitted that it messed up. That year, the company released an internal report that stated some of its accounting had been completely inaccurate. Krispy Kreme admitted that it had discovered some $25.6 million lost through incorrect accounting. Nevertheless, the report didn't state that donut makers had committed fraud. Instead, the company claimed that the issues were part of poor accounting practices and errors, but not a deliberate attempt to manipulate funds. Furthermore, company employees claimed that they didn't distort the numbers on purpose. Moreover, this internal report hasn't been the only investigation that has probed into Krispy Kreme's earnings and come up with some funny numbers. In 2009, the Wall Street Journal reported that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission was interested in this organization's accounts. It began a probe into the donut company's earnings beginning in 2004. By the end of the investigation, the SEC concluded that Krispy Kreme had inflated its profits on purpose. The SEC charged 3 former executives $632,919, plus interest and another $150,000 worth of fines. The company itself, however, was off the hook, at least financially. But what did Krispy Kreme think about this situation? Well, naturally, it denied cooking its books. Sewers are a fundamental part of any city's infrastructure. They enable waste and debris to be taken to a distant treatment plant safely and responsibly. However, it wasn't that simple when Krispy Kreme got involved. In 2009, Krispy Kreme was blamed for harming a waste treatment plant in Fairfax County, Virginia, by putting grease and yeast into the pipes and therefore clogging up the works. The company was additionally accused of breaking its lease at its property. In 2012, Krispy Kreme was sued by its landlord for these violations. The frustrated property owner wanted a pretty hefty $2.7 million for their troubles. In 2013, this issue was settled when the Fairfax County Circuit Court ruled that Krispy Kreme had lost its case. Krispy Kreme was additionally barred from entering a counterclaim for $3 million and was forced to settle the dispute for an undisclosed amount of money. Surely, the vast majority of people will agree that the Ku Klux Klan is a vile and abhorrent hate group. It's therefore probably not the best idea to reference them in a donut ad. However, a Krispy Kreme franchise in the UK did exactly that back in 2015, though the reference appears to have been inadvertent. It all started when Krispy Kreme held a promotional event called Krispy Kreme Club Wednesdays, otherwise known as KKK Wednesdays. After this particular Krispy Kreme branch advertised this day online, it received some comments that noted that the abbreviation it used was a common reference to the aforementioned hate group. The offending post was quickly removed. A spokesperson who worked for Krispy Kreme told The Guardian, "Krispy Kreme apologizes unreservedly for the inappropriate name of a customer promotion at one of our stores. This promotion was never intended to cause offense. All material has been withdrawn and an internal investigation is currently underway." It's an employer's responsibility to keep their workers safe while they're engaged in their duties. This is why it's such a shame when companies fail to fulfill this duty and an employee's safety begins to look less than certain when they're trying to do their job. There was a seriously unfortunate time when a Canadian Krispy Kreme franchise didn't do all that it could to protect a member of the staff. In 2005, the donut company in question was fined for violating Ontario's Occupational Health and Safety Act. This is because, in the previous year, a worker of theirs was driving a lift truck for the first time. Critically, the driver hadn't received any official training whatsoever and subsequently crashed while operating the vehicle.
We'll get somebody to clean that up.
We're the ones that gotta clean that up.
During the court proceedings, Krispy Kreme pled guilty. So how much was the Canadian branch fined? Well, this organization got ordered to hand over $90,000. The court also made Krispy Kreme pay an extra $22,500 surcharge. This additional money went to a special provincial government fund that supports victims of crime. By 2008, every Krispy Kreme in Minnesota had come and gone. There were several reasons for the closures, but the end result was a region deprived of the tasty treats. Fast forward to 2019, when a college student began selling Krispy Kreme donuts in Minnesota. He did this by driving to Iowa each weekend and then purchasing the elusive donuts. He then sold them back in Minnesota for an estimated $17 to $19 per box. However, Krispy Kreme didn't approve of this situation and ordered the budding entrepreneur to stop. The student subsequently wrote that he'd been forced to stop on Facebook, after which he received heaps of online support. Moreover, once members of the general public became critical of the chain's move, Krispy Kreme changed its decision. A spokesperson said that the inventive student would be allowed to keep selling his donuts. Businesses in the United Kingdom must financially support recycled packaging efforts, and the recovery of packaging waste efforts equal to the amount of packaging that they have put onto the market. Businesses can support these operations by buying packaging recovery notes, which results in someone else doing this work for them, or they can undertake their own recycling initiatives. However, in 2011, Krispy Kreme was fined more than £12,000 at the Woking Magistrates Court for not buying its required packaging recovery notes. What's more, this donut company pled guilty to not recovering and recycling the correct amount of packaging waste between the years 2006 and 2009. Krispy Kreme instead joined the program in 2010. An investigating officer at the Environment Agency responded to the company's failures by stating that though the regulations were in place for over a decade, lots of businesses were still unaware of them. According to the officer, the money that Krispy Kreme saved by not purchasing packaging recovery notes would have supported the recycling industry. He felt strongly that all businesses take their impact on the environment seriously. Further, he claimed that Krispy Kreme failed to do that by not following the regulations. In 2018, Krispy Kreme opened its first ever store in New Zealand. However, this grand opening wasn't a success because during the proceedings, a security guard refused entry to a Filipino woman. Apparently, only New Zealand residents could win any of the free donuts that the store was providing. Because she wasn't a citizen, the woman didn't feel that she had any recourse to fight the discrimination. The Philippines ambassador in New Zealand, Jesus Domingo, was critical.
What might have this been a case of racial profiling? Because from the information that we have is that it seemed to be just based on looks.
He went on to suggest that people ditch Krispy Kreme in favor of Filipino-owned and operated bakeries. Of course, he noted that people could always go to Dunkin' Donuts, too. Krispy Kreme later apologized for what had happened, saying that the company was disappointed to cause an upset with the New Zealand grand opening competition. Andrew McGuigan, the company's chief executive of Australia and New Zealand, said that their standard terms and conditions required that every entry to competitions were only for citizens of the specific country. They claim that they underestimated New Zealand's diverse population and apologized for the lapse in judgment. As a final act of contrition, they updated their terms and conditions to avoid further controversy of this particular nature. Krispy Kreme has settled out of court on more than one occasion. In 2006, the company agreed to give some of their workers $4.7 million after a financial dispute where employees alleged that Krispy Kreme had concealed the fact that their profits were going down. These losses reportedly resulted in some of its staff members losing heaps of retirement saving funds. The employees involved in the proceeding believed that the executives had lied. The people in charge didn't tell them the stocks which they bought for their 401k accounts or were given as bonuses were actually pretty precarious investments. This was all due to the difficulties Krispy Kreme was experiencing at the time. Krispy Kreme claimed that it did nothing wrong in regards to how it paid its workers or presented its finances. Nevertheless, this settlement was for a serious amount of cash. Hopefully, Krispy Kreme staff members don't feel like they have to make these types of accusations again in the future. Amidst a 2020 coronavirus lockdown in Melbourne, Australia, and while Sydney was on the edge of a larger COVID-19 outbreak, Krispy Kreme decided to hold an ill-considered promotional campaign. Local stores offered free donuts to people whose birthdays fell between March 13th and July 13th, an event that resulted in some people ignoring social distancing guidelines. The New South Wales Police stated that riot squad, traffic control, and other officers were called to more than one of the donut company's stores. Moreover, a Melbourne establishment had to close early. The NSW police force was extremely critical of this free donut campaign. Acting Assistant Commissioner Tony Cook said, "This is nonsensical and defies logic." Meanwhile, the NSW Minister for Police and Emergency Services, David Elliott, stated that the recent images we have seen of mass gatherings and social distancing rules being blatantly ignored are disturbing. Krispy Kreme ended up defending its decision to run the event despite the subsequent uproar. The company stated that when announcing the offer, Krispy Kreme clearly stated that government guidelines must be followed. They added that customers would be required to comply with social distancing rules at all times. However, despite this being the case, Krispy Kreme still decided to suspend their campaign in the face of the ensuing backlash.
Even Krispy Kreme admits that its own donuts aren't healthy, but they can still be enjoyed in moderation. So go ahead and live a little and enjoy Krispy Kreme every once in a while. Just be sure to make good choices when you're there by avoiding these menu items. Sprinkles exist solely to provide whimsy, and no self-respecting adult should be eating whimsical food, and that goes for rainbow sprinkles, chocolate sprinkles, bacon-flavored sprinkles, or whatever possible version of sprinkles you can dream up. It's hard to even call sprinkles food. They're more like a cheap thrill for the visually jaded.
Is that the last donut with red, white, and blue sprinkles?
Face it, sprinkles are for 4-year-olds, Captain America, and people who don't realize food isn't supposed to taste like wax. They're the lazy man's decoration, superfluous at best, and somehow always stale. This changes the whole point of a Krispy Kreme donut. They're supposed to be soft and doughy, not dry and prickly. Donuts are perfectly capable of being self-contained. This is an important and useful feature for keeping things like custard and jelly from dripping all over the place. It also prevents waste and helps keep your hands relatively clean. It's what you might call effective food engineering.
What is that? What the f*** is that? What is that, Private Pile?
Sir, jelly donuts, sir!
A jelly donut?
But Krispy Kreme doesn't really see it that way. Consider the New York cheesecake donut. It has a creamy cheesecake filling, cream cheese icing, and a mound of graham cracker crumbles on top. There's no way those crumbles could ever stay intact. They fall everywhere, on your clothes, in your car, maybe even in your hair. A little powdered sugar on a donut is one thing, but putting crumbles on top is just asking for trouble. Krispy Kreme's super cute donut that looks like a strawberry might appear tempting at first, but according to the chain's own list of ingredients, the icing may contain red number 40, a popular food dye that's been linked to cancer. Or it could have red number 3, which is possibly responsible for things like thyroid tumors and chromosomal damage. Then there's the pineapple donut. It contains yellow number 5, which is linked to the aforementioned maladies as well as asthma, hyperactivity, and violent behavior. The key lime pie donut also has yellow number 5 along with blue number 1, which may cause chromosomal damage and even brain cancer. Artificial food coloring is basically poison. Some European countries have actually banned it, and the ones that haven't are required to use warning labels. The good news is that the more common side effects of consuming artificial dyes, like behavioral problems and ADHD in kids, occur in less than 1% of the population, but it's still probably not worth the risk. Cake donuts are hard, dry, and incredibly boring. Honestly, they shouldn't even qualify as donuts. They should just be called cake. Unlike yeast donuts, cake donuts use baking powder as a leavening agent, and that's how they get their texture. Apparently, people like them because they're so dense that they won't fall apart when dipped in hot coffee. But if someone needs to soften up an obnoxiously hard rock that dares to call itself a donut, it's worth noting that there are plenty of Krispy Kreme options that need no modifying whatsoever.
You make these last week, these things hard as hell.
I bet you'll still eat it.
Okay.
A cruller is a type of pastry that looks like a tractor tire. It's not really like a donut at all, except that it's round with a hole in the middle. All similarities end there. Crullers are traditionally made with a light flaky dough that is typically found in cream puffs, then deep fried and dipped in a sweet glaze. But Krispy Kreme makes their crullers the same way they make cake donuts. Then they slap some glaze on there and call it a cruller, even though it's clearly not. Perhaps a more accurate term would be cruller-ish or cruller-like. One popular type of cruller is the French cruller, and messing around with French food is never a good idea. The French know what they're doing already. So if you want an authentic cruller, forget about this one and head to a French bakery instead. Krispy Kreme states that its version of the classic apple fritter is, quote, bursting with cinnamon and apple flavor, all covered in glaze. A donut with actual fruit must be at least slightly healthier than the other options. But not so fast. With 350 calories, the apple fritter is actually a pretty terrible choice. For comparison, a plain glazed donut has 190 calories. The fritter also has 9 grams of saturated fat, which is about half the recommended daily intake, and 26 grams of sugar. And to make matters worse, the apples that Krispy Kreme uses are full of preservatives and smothered in high fructose corn syrup, which is known to cause such ailments as obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and premature aging. You're literally better off swallowing a spoonful of lard.
Free donuts? Cool coworkers? Is working at Krispy Kreme really as sweet a deal as it seems? Krispy Kreme appears to genuinely offer a reasonably low-key working environment, even for customer-facing employees. Employees reviewing Krispy Kreme on Indeed have described the work as relatively easy and even quite simple. They described the place as having straightforward tasks and a low-key pace. One employee from a Lincoln, Nebraska location even went so far as to describe the working environment at Krispy Kreme as pretty peaceful. For most fast food retail jobs, that description is almost unheard of. Now, if you're someone who doesn't like downtime at work, then you share some similarities with those who call the environment flat-out boring. However, if you're the kind of person who loves a chill environment, this appears to be a pretty strong mark in the pro column for Krispy Kreme. Now to something a little less sweet. Some employee reviews suggest that at Krispy Kreme, work roles don't appear to be well defined. This means that responsibilities can shift at random. If you're the type who prefers to know exactly what you'll do during every hour of every shift, this may not be the most suitable environment for you to earn your paycheck. But if you hate repetition and love to switch it up often, you could thrive here. A former Krispy Kreme employee in New York, found this disorganization meant no one was really an expert at any particular task. So everyone just did what they could to help the store get through the day, but still rated the job as fun overall. A less satisfied former employee from Bronx, New York, wasn't as thrilled with the lack of clarity. They lamented about how they had to fill in for roles whether they knew how to do them or not. Talk about on-the-job training. One of the greatest joys of regularly showing up somewhere can be getting to meet new friends. If you're someone who adores meeting new people and forging new bonds, then Krispy Kreme may be the place for you, but not for the reason you'd expect. It appears the turnover there is quite high. More turnover means more people to meet, but there are some not-so-sweet things about high turnover at Krispy Kreme. High turnover can be a major stressor for the employees who remain. One former employee from Jonesboro, Arkansas, who rated the location highly in an Indeed review and called it a fun place to work, did admit that the high turnover made it a stressful work environment at times. Another employee in Rancho Mirage, California, specified that heavy turnover left the store shorthanded, which makes any job a whole lot harder than it should be.
It takes a good team. Everybody has to do their part, and at the end, it all comes together.
Cooks and waitstaff in the restaurant industry are no strangers to unpredictable schedules. It can be rare for them to know exactly what time their managers will cut them, as customer demand dies down after each meal. This unpredictability is less often seen in retail, but it also depends on where you work. Sure, you could argue that Krispy Kreme is a restaurant of sorts, serving food and beverages as its primary business, but also consider this. Fast food counter-style chains tend to have set schedules, with managers adamantly adhering to them to keep labor costs low. Krispy Kreme, they don't follow that exactly to a T. One former employee from California complained they often failed to get staff out on time. Their failure to stay on top of scheduling led this employee to leave a paltry 2-star review of the work environment. One former employee who worked at a McAllen, Texas location described that even though they were scheduled until 11 p.m., it wasn't uncommon for them to be there till as late as 3 a.m., which means one thing: it isn't an isolated incident. Sure, you might expect to work an extra half hour here or there at any job, but an extra 4 hours, especially in the middle of the night, does sound a bit extreme. Freebies are a beloved perk at any job that offers them, and you might assume that you'd be able to score some free donuts by working at a donut shop. But you know what they say about assumptions. Just kidding. Krispy Kreme employees do receive plenty of free donuts and more. Exactly how many free donuts you'll walk away with appears to depend on the store that employs you and how carefully the managers stick to corporate policy. One former employee in Bronx, New York, raved about scoring free donuts on every shift. Maybe that's why they loved the job enough to rate it a full 5 stars on Indeed. But that doesn't appear to be the norm. Another former employee from Memphis, Tennessee, noted receiving a free box of a dozen donuts every week. This was echoed by employees in Cedar Hill, Texas, and Toledo, Ohio, suggesting that this may be the actual policy for freebies. A former employee dishing the dirt on Reddit backed us up, so we're sticking with it. All of these employees noted that they received free drinks during their shifts too, so no one needs to go thirsty while serving the hungry public. A former donut maker from Queensland, Australia, described the training as minimal, calling it more of a watch-and-learn model. Another former employee from San Dimas, California, wasn't thrilled with the lack of training, which required employees to figure out the job on their own, often leading to disapproval from management. Worse still, a former customer-facing employee from Issaquah, Washington, claims that this location saw trainees being forced to train even newer trainees, perpetuating a cycle of no one receiving any legitimate training at all. Yikes! That said, if you're an eager beaver, anxious to learn the whole business, you might end up as grateful as the Glassdoor reviewer from New York, New York, who enjoyed all the responsibility handed down.
The transformation that this company's done in the last 5 years has been incredible. We've worked on our brand, we've worked on the culture, and we actually changed the business model.
According to employees of Krispy Kreme, the chain is chronically understaffed, while one employee in Clemson, South Carolina, noted that work at this location could be overwhelming because the store was sometimes understaffed. Employees at other locations had harsher critiques. A former employee from Alexandria, Virginia, placed the blame on weak managers who refused to hire new employees because they didn't like the process. This left the store understaffed, even on holidays they knew would be busy. There doesn't seem to be any position at Krispy Kreme that doesn't suffer from a serious shortage of peers, leaving everyone a little bit worse for wear. The upside here is that it's also pretty hard to get fired. Employees report the company advertises flexible scheduling and that they tend to deliver. For students, parents, or anyone with unpredictable schedules, this is a major perk. Krispy Kreme employees have left plenty of appreciation for this amenity in their reviews of the chain. Finding positive comments in the most negative reviews can be very telling of how legitimate a perk is, and schedule flexibility appears in plenty of otherwise negative Krispy Kreme reviews. One former employee from Orlando, Florida, grew to hate working for the popular donut shop, but still admitted commented in their 2-star review that flexible scheduling was a plus. Another former employee from Pooler, Georgia, failed to elaborate much on why the experience of working for Krispy Kreme only warranted a 1-star review, but they praised the very flexible schedule and ease of requesting days off. Finally, a former employee from Victorville, California, rejoiced that it was easy to arrange their work schedule around their school obligations. They also mentioned that their managers didn't give them a hard time when they needed to call out. For better or worse, that's some serious flexibility. Plenty of Krispy Kreme employees hail the company as a good fit for entry-level employees looking for their first job. Several former employees from different locations had a lot to say about it. One former employee from Elk Grove Village, Illinois, says it's a good place for high school and college students to work when compared with other fast food companies. Another from Rogers, Arkansas, agreed it was a simple enough first gig for anyone looking to learn about customer service. A former employee hailing from New York, offers a bit more insight, explaining that a job at Krispy Kreme isn't difficult and is a great place for beginners, but there isn't significant room for growth, so it's better as a first job than as a career move. Another former worker from Glendale, Arizona, agreed that working at Krispy Kreme was the easiest job they ever had. They also said they believed the low pay is suitable only as a first job and not for anyone with significant expenses. Money may be the reason most people choose to work at all, but if there's one thing that keeps employees returning to the same job day after day, it's their coworkers. Krispy Kreme seems to excel at hiring fun, lovable people to staff its shops because many of them rave about how much they love working with each other. One former employee from Sacramento, California, admitted to not really liking the job very much, leaving a disappointed 2-star review. That same employee confessed that the only bright side was how awesome the staff was. A manager from Clarksville, Tennessee, left a generally favorable review of Krispy Kreme, but that employee also made a special point to mention that they loved all of their coworkers, which isn't something one often hears. And in Manassas, Virginia, a former cashier also seemed to universally love their coworkers, calling them wonderful and very fun to work with. This same review mentioned disliking the job overall and left only a 2-star review. The general consensus, from positive reviews to negative, seems to be that Krispy Kreme employees have a knack for getting along well together.
Like all good businesses, Krispy Kreme kept expanding, as did their donut-making machines, which churned out a steady army of donuts, locked in 2-step and glazed to perfection.
Many employees have said that Krispy Kreme positions are fairly easy to pick up, so much so that they're even great for first-time applicants. The atmosphere tends to be laid back and less stressful than many retail and restaurant jobs, but it does seem there's one exception that appears in multiple employee reviews: promotions. Sales and coupons mean a break from the norm, and if they come too frequently and with too many special conditions, it's not hard to imagine how they could make anyone's work life more difficult. A former store manager from Smyrna, Georgia, claimed that Krispy Kreme released new coupons every 2 or 3 days, resulting in unusually long lines that were impossible to keep up with. Another manager from Menifee, California, concurred that the chain's incessant promotions and limited edition donuts were too much for the understaffed store to handle. Another manager said that constant promotions could quickly lead to professional burnout.
Some Chicago restaurants are changing their hours, and it's not because of a lack of customers. Instead, it's a lack of workers.
No matter how much you love your job, you'd probably be lying if you said you didn't look forward to your breaks now and then. Unfortunately for employees of Krispy Kreme, these don't appear to be a guarantee at many locations. Things can go wrong at any company. If someone volunteers to pitch in and help out in a pinch, it could be understandable for a break to be missed in an extreme situation. But a former employee from Lone Tree, Colorado, noted that breaks were impossible to get when the store was understaffed, which is far from an unusual circumstance, as we have learned. Another employee from Kansas City, Kansas, indicated that the lack of breaks wasn't always unplanned, but managers didn't even schedule breaks for the staff sometimes, and there wasn't a break room. And even though they rated their Krispy Kreme job as a 4-star experience, a McAllen, Texas employee claimed that management never allowed them any breaks, even during 8-hour and 12-hour shifts.
Few fast food brands inspire as much devotion as Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme has perfected its signature glazed donut, but from ice cream to whole wheat donuts, the popular chain has also had plenty of ideas over the years that didn't pan out. Donuts aren't anyone's number one choice for a healthy breakfast. They're rings of deep-fried cake, and there's only so much you can do to reduce their caloric load. Krispy Kreme donuts are lighter than their direct competitors, with the original glazed registering 70 fewer calories than equivalent products from Dunkin and Tim Hortons. Of course, all those calories come in the form of refined carbs, oils, and sugar, so calling Krispy Kreme health food is a stretch. That didn't stop former Krispy Kreme senior VP of marketing Stan Parker from declaring that the chain's new whole wheat donut was an alternative for health-conscious consumers with the benefits of 100% whole wheat. Despite Parker's optimism, Krispy Kreme wasn't able to convince suspicious customers that the whole wheat donut was a healthier choice. The whole wheat donut's hefty doses of trans fat and sugar cancelled out any potential nutritional value. Even worse, the whole wheat donut barely had fewer calories than an original glazed. The company phased out its one gesture at healthfulness and has since embraced its identity as a supplier of decadent indulgences. Krispy Kreme has tried to make ice cream work a few times, but the attempt has never panned out in the long run. They're known as a place to get sweet treats in the morning, and the company hoped ice cream would boost sales during the afternoon when fewer people buy donuts. The 2009 ice cream launch was branded Cool Cream and included soft serve, donut sundaes, milkshakes, and a blizzard-like blended concoction called an Arctic Avalanche.
There's nothing like the new Krispy Kreme sundae. A hot, fresh donut covered in soft serve and topped the way you like it. Thinking ice cream? Think Krispy Kreme.
Since ice cream doesn't require cooking, you might think it would be an easy add-on to Krispy Kreme's existing menu. However, as McDonald's ice cream machine's struggles show, frozen treats can cause big headaches for restaurant operators. Early results from the Cool Cream test markets appeared positive, but the product line didn't stick around. New England is synonymous with clam chowder, lobster rolls, and Dunkin. A survey reported in the Seattle Times found that around half of Bostonians went to Dunkin at least once a month. Local celebrities wear their Dunkin addictions with pride, with Ben Affleck and Charli D'Amelio proclaiming their love for the chain. Nobody can accuse Krispy Kreme of cowardice because the chain has tried to take on Dunkin on its home turf 2 times, and it's considering trying again. The first attempt came during the company's ill-fated period of rapid expansion during the early 2000s. The chain opened 7 out of a promised 16 stores, but none of the branches survived into the 2010s. Krispy Kreme unveiled more stores in the Boston area in 2016, but only managed to open 2 of the 4 it announced before both closed. Undeterred, the company mentioned in their initial public offering statement in 2021 that they were considering giving Boston another chance. Perhaps the brand would be better off ceding the Northeast US to Dunkin. Philadelphia has proved just as hostile as Boston to Krispy Kreme, with all 3 Philly Krispy Kremes dying after a few years. Krispy Kreme pizza resides in the same realm of pop culture as Bigfoot, the Jackalope, and the Loch Ness Monster. It's hard to find any evidence that it ever existed aside from one mysterious photo posted to Krispy Kreme's Facebook page. Intrepid sleuths in the comments section of that photo say that the cars in the parking lot appear to be late 1950s and early 1960s models, so we can infer that the store was selling pizza sometime in the mid-60s, towards the beginning of pizza's popularity in America. The fact that this lone photo is the only surviving record of Krispy Kreme pizza suggests the savory experiment didn't last long. Was the pizza made with donut batter? Was it the product of a rogue franchisee? We may never know. Krispy Kreme is proud of its hometown of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That local pride has manifested in 2 successful crossovers with North Carolina soda brand Cheerwine. The success of the company's Cheerwine cream-filled donut inspired Krispy Kreme to seek out more Winston-Salem-based collaborations. They turned to Texas Pete hot sauce, which, despite its name, has always been made in North Carolina. A hot sauce cream-flavored donut made it to the testing phase of development, but never escaped the lab to make its way into the public's hands. If Krispy Kreme had been a little bolder and released their creation, they might have had a hit. In 2018, a vendor at the North Carolina State Fair earned a legion of fans with Texas Pete glazed mini donuts. Apparently not learning their lesson from Cool Cream, Krispy Kreme once again tried to introduce a line of frozen desserts in 2018. This time, ice cream was going to be just one component of a new, refreshed store design that included digital menu boards and a donut customization bar. The star of the new menu launch was the Scoop Sandwich, an ice cream sandwich with donuts as the buns. The menu revamp arrived in July of that year at a Krispy Kreme in Concord, North Carolina. The brand announced in a press release that it was planning to open 45 locations with the new menu items by 2020. Despite all the hype surrounding the scoop sandwich when it debuted, there's no evidence it was ever available outside of a few test locations, and it's not on the current Krispy Kreme menu. In the early 2000s, Krispy Kreme had 7 franchises in Hong Kong. At the time, the chain was the only American donut shop in the city. The brand's abrupt and total exit from the Hong Kong market in 2008 devastated local donut lovers who were left with no other options. Some suggested that donuts were too different from local Hong Kong baked goods, which tend to be less sweet than Western desserts. A Krispy Kreme donut also sold for around 3 times as much as an item from a local sweet shop. The real reason that Krispy Kreme failed in Hong Kong may be that it didn't change its standard menu to suit the region's tastes. The chain has had success adapting to other cultures' cuisines, including donut waffles in Indonesia and matcha donuts in Japan. The donut shops that opened in Hong Kong after Krispy Kreme closed offer flavors that you wouldn't find in America, like Jayco's Avocado DiCaprio.
Ever since it first opened its doors way back in 1937, Krispy Kreme has been serving up its famous glazed donuts straight out of the oven. The chain's famous sweet treats are made with yeast, which makes them airier and lighter than other donut varieties. However, the big thing that really sets Krispy Kreme apart from competitors like Dunkin' Donuts is not the donut itself, but what goes on top. We're talking about that shiny, sugary glaze that's impossible to resist.
You have to at least try one of the glazed. It's a little bit of heaven.
Every original glazed donut from the North Carolina-based chain is coated in the sticky sweet deliciousness by sailing beneath a glaze waterfall. This crucial component is part of what makes Krispy Kreme's signature donuts so popular. It keeps customers licking their fingers and coming back for more year after year. But what exactly is the chain's sweet glaze made of? While Krispy Kreme has never revealed the full recipe, here's what we know about the frosting that fans can't get enough of. According to the company's website, founder Vernon Rudolph bought the now famous glazed donut recipe from a French chef who was living in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1937. After some success selling the donuts in grocery stores, Rudolph had the genius idea to start offering his donuts directly to consumers from a hole he had cut into the factory wall. The company claims this decision was inspired by the amount of people who would pause on the street outside, trying to figure out where that incredible smell was coming from. According to Love Food, Krispy Kreme still uses that original glazed donut recipe from the 30s. However, it has automated some of the process and no longer requires each shop to make their donuts completely from scratch. Of course, Krispy Kreme keeps the recipe locked in a company vault, hidden away from the prying eyes of devious competitors. Like most restaurants with highly coveted recipes, Krispy Kreme has never revealed the exact ingredients in its famous donut glaze. However, plenty of people have tried to guess what's inside the delicious icing. How Stuff Works did an in-depth analysis of the manufacturing process and reported that the glaze is a mixture of sugar, milk, and other ingredients. Fortunately for those who don't live close enough to a Krispy Kreme to get the real deal, there are plenty of copycat glazed donut recipes that claim to be just as good as the original. While they're all slightly different, some of the common ingredients include confectioner's sugar, also known as powdered sugar, light corn syrup, and some milk. Food.com suggests using butter, confectioner's sugar, hot water, and vanilla extract. Even if it's not exactly like Krispy Kreme, you'll still enjoy some glazed donuts that will trigger a perfectly understandable reaction.
Donuts.